They thought we were scared. That's what burned the most. Not that they hovered their warships above our orbit like we were a colony to be pacified. Not that their smug, metallic ambassador voice had echoed through our networks saying Earth had violated the peace of the stars. No, what burned the most was that they expected us to beg. I was on watch that night, midnight at Iron Dome Station, buried inside the Rockies. My name's Knox, Major Gabriel Knox. 30 years in Earth defense, and not once had I seen the world so quiet. The transmission came in like poison, a burst of static across every channel. Then that smooth, gutless voice of the Galactic Council's envoy. This is a formal notice to Planetary Governance Unit, Earth. You are in violation of Article 7-5C, Technological Proliferation and Unauthorized Militarization. You have 72 hours to comply with disarmament protocols. Failure to comply will result in orbital enforcement. Orbital enforcement, diplomatic speak for we'll glass your cities. I looked around the war room, every man frozen, fists clenched. The room smelled of sweat and steel. The Council had been watching us since we launched Project Ember, hypersonic platforms rigged with smart strike warheads. Not nukes, something worse, designed for surgical extinction. We built them because we knew this day was coming. And now the aliens had the gall to threaten us. President Darnell was brought in within the hour, his face like stone. He didn't ask what we thought. He didn't waste time. He stared straight into the live feed camera that connected to their envoy. The response wasn't broadcast to the public, not yet. He said one sentence. Tell your council, we didn't claw our way out of dirt to kneel to cowards hiding behind stars. Then he gave the order. Phase 1. Launch Ember. I watched as 12 silos, hidden in what the Council thought were abandoned mountain zones, opened like jaws. Ember warheads left streaks through the stratosphere. We didn't hit their planets, not yet. We hit their fleets, silent, cloaked orbital carriers floating just outside visual range. The Council assumed we hadn't noticed them. Big mistake. The feeds went red. 1, 2, 6 carriers gone. No warning, no demands, just silence. And then ash. That night, Earth didn't plead. We replied. And in that silence, something shifted. In the hearts of every man who ever felt small, every soldier who'd buried his doubts, every forgotten nation stomped down by superior races, something woke up. We weren't part of their council. We were the warning they forgot to fear. We didn't have wormholes or quantum warlords or psychic tech. We had scars. We had fire. We had missiles. And for the first time in galactic history, Earth fired first. We knew they'd come, not just with words this time, not with veiled threats or envoy drones that blinked polite red lights while hovering over our airspace. No. This time it would be warships, council issue, mass drivers that could punch holes through cities, drones that hacked defense grids like they were children's toys, bioweapons disguised as gifts. After our strike, after we reduced 6 of their cloaked carriers to molten debris, we waited. Not because we were afraid, but because every man at command knew we'd just kicked over the biggest anthill in the universe. Day 1 after the missile launch was quiet, too quiet. I sat in the black room, no windows, no clocks, just screens. The Council didn't reply. No communication, no retaliation. That's what made my gut twist. The silence wasn't peace, it was calculation. I've seen it before, back when I served in the Eurasian conflicts. Right before a blitz, there's always a silence, like the whole world holds its breath. General Vega came in that morning grim as hell. No salute, no small talk, just handed me a drive. This came through one of the back channels, intercepted 2 hours ago. It's not good. I slid it in and watched. It was a message. Not to us, not directly. A council broadcast to their aligned worlds. They were calling Earth a rogue species. Unfit for galactic harmony, the voice said, smooth and sterile. Refusing integration. Displaying primitive aggression. Initiate containment. Containment. Not destruction. Containment meant occupation. Mind scrub units. Drone fleets taking over cities. Earth turned into a labor planet. Breeding stock. Subjugation. We weren't just being punished. We were being put down. Estimated time to breach orbit? I asked. Vega didn't blink. 36 hours, maybe less. They'll come through the L2 point. Gates already heating up. So that was it. 36 hours to prepare for the invasion of Earth. 36 hours before everything we'd built, every city, every home, every childhood memory, burned under the heel of a council that believed Earth was too wild, too stubborn, too angry to be left unchecked. I remember walking out of that room and calling my brother. He's not military. He works in Colorado, a machinist. Makes parts for underground tunnels. He didn't say much, but I could hear it in his voice. Fear, and worse, doubt. Are we gonna make it, Gabe? I didn't lie to him. I don't know, but I'll make damn sure they remember us. Phase 2 began 6 hours later. Every reserve drone fleet was activated. The orbital railguns, long kept in shadows to avoid council detection, were spun up. Old world powers that hadn't spoken in decades opened encrypted channels. Russia, India, Brazil, Germany, even the splinter nations in Africa who'd broken away from EarthGov signed the War Pact. Because now it wasn't about borders. It was about survival. The plan was simple. Brutal, but simple. We knew they'd come in fast, trying to overwhelm with numbers, so we'd choke them. Space itself would be the battleground. We laid mines in orbit, not conventional ones. These were dark energy rigs, banned across half the galaxy for their destructive radiation signature. We deployed them anyway, because we didn't care about bans. We cared about sending a message. Earth isn't a planet, the defense minister said that night during the emergency address. It's a graveyard waiting to take guests. I sat with the other officers in the control center, watching the L2 gate on the big screen. A wormhole bloom, shimmering in gold and violet light, was forming. The first signs of entry. Then came the council fleet. Not 6, not a dozen. 124 ships. They didn't waste time. No warning. No message, just weapons drawn and shields up. Some of them were shaped like massive discs, others like insectoid nightmares, tendrils of alloy crawling with AI parasites. They moved like predators. They were here to break us. The first shots were fired within seconds. Orbital mines detonated. The darkness above Earth lit up like it was noon. Ships exploded, shredded into metallic dust. But the council wasn't green. They adapted fast. Their skirmisher class broke through the kill field and began targeting our satellites, our comms, our planetary shields. That's when Command issued the words that still echo in my head. Release the Nix protocol. Nix wasn't a missile. It wasn't a fleet. It was a virus. Something we'd been working on in Black Labs for decades. It didn't kill. It corrupted. Think of it as a ghost, slipping into their systems, feeding false coordinates, turning ship sensors inside out. It was made from human chaos, no code, just randomness, the kind of madness machines weren't built to handle. And it worked. Within minutes, council vessels began colliding. Friendly fire broke out. Half their fleet turned against itself. But we weren't done. Ember 2 platforms launched from deep-sea silos. The Council didn't expect that. Most of our satellites were fake, decoys built to draw fire. The real weapons were underwater, in the mountains, in the crust of the planet. Missiles tore through space, wrapping in stealth plasma until they were meters away from target. 12 more ships gone. Our people cheered. But victory doesn't come cheap. In retaliation, a capital-class cruiser broke through. Its mass driver pierced our orbital defense ring and slammed into Johannesburg. The explosion took out 5 million people in seconds. You could see the crater from space. Screams flooded every emergency network. Another beam carved through the Mediterranean, evaporating an entire fleet. By the end of the first wave, Earth had lost 15 million. 15 million souls. And the Council still wasn't done. We regrouped. The skies were burning. The moon had debris lodged into its surface. And still, we fought. Not because we thought we'd win, but because we'd rather die as humans than live as subjects. The moment that changed everything came 18 hours in. A Council dreadnought, the Varenth, approached Earth's upper atmosphere, bigger than anything we'd seen, bristling with tech we couldn't even understand. It opened a channel, and what it said still rattles in my skull. This planet's resistance is noted. Cease, or we shall initiate species reset protocol. Your evolution will be corrected. Corrected. That meant sterilization, genetic edits, stripping humanity of its edge. I slammed the console. No, I muttered. You think we're broken, that we're violent, that we don't fit, but we're exactly what this galaxy needs. We sent the last ember, the one we swore never to use. It wasn't aimed at a ship. It was aimed at the gate itself, the wormhole. If we couldn't hold the line, we'd break the damn door. The ember hit, the gate shattered. A collapse ripple tore through the entry point. Every remaining Council ship on the edge of the fold was sucked in and erased. No explosion, just silence. Half the fleet vanished in seconds. The rest fled. Cowards. When the smoke cleared, Earth was bleeding. Our oceans boiled in places. Our sky was scarred with debris rings. We lost cities. We lost friends. But we didn't lose ourselves. They sent us a threat. We replied with war, and now the galaxy knew. Earth wouldn't beg. Earth would burn before it bent. You could smell smoke in the air for weeks, not just from fires, though those never stopped. Cities crumbled, oceans sizzled, and black ash rained down like snow in the northern hemisphere. But the smoke was deeper than that. It was human. It was grief. The kind of collective mourning only war brings, where everyone knows someone who didn't make it. 15 million gone in a flash of heat and silence. And yet, we were still here. No celebration, no victory parades, no presidents raising flags over rubble, just soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder, digging bodies out with their bare hands and praying the next wave didn't come. But the thing about humans, we don't forget. We don't forgive. The Council underestimated us once. They assumed they'd win with overwhelming force. They thought Earth was just another rebellious colony. They didn't realize we were born in war, raised on loss, conditioned to fight even when the odds say die. After the gate collapsed and the Council's fleet was shattered, their ships stopped coming. That was 3 days ago. Everyone kept asking, "Is it over?" Hell no. The silence was worse than the invasion, because we knew they weren't done. They were just changing tactics. I got called into a secure chamber at the core bunker in West Nevada. Deep underground. Real old school. Concrete walls. Manual locks. No AI, no network. Paranoia had its place now. I walked in, and command was there. Vega, Harlan, President Darnell, and a few foreign ministers who looked like they hadn't slept in a year. On the table was a body, or what was left of it. Blackened skin. No eyes. A branded mark on the chest. Some kind of council glyph. I knew what it was. Everyone in that room did. A traitor. The Council had made contact, not through an invasion fleet, but through people. They found the cracks in us. Not hard to do. Every society has them. the ones who believe resistance is pointless, the ones who'd trade loyalty for survival. They were calling themselves the Unified Accord. Humans working with the Council. Cowards, liars, diplomats who thought they could negotiate peace by selling Earth out piece by piece. A future as subjects under structured harmony, whatever the hell that meant. Vega threw a data pad onto the table. It slid toward me, screen flashing red. "There's more," he growled. "We intercepted a feed, transmission from one of their hidden ships. They've already landed agents, cloaked." "Where?" "Major cities, New York, Lagos, Bangkok, Berlin. They're activating networks, mind control tech, subversion." My throat went dry. "You're saying the war's not over? It's just underground?" He nodded. "They couldn't win in the sky, so now they'll try to infect us, from the inside." What came next wasn't war the way I knew it. This wasn't missiles and orbital strikes. It was whispers. It was neighbors disappearing. Scientists changing behavior. Politicians suddenly pushing for peaceful talks, just days after millions were incinerated. We started seeing strange behavior patterns in the population. Calm in chaos. People walking through bombed streets like they couldn't feel the destruction. We took one alive. A woman, early 30s, used to be a teacher before the sky fell. Now she just smiled at everything, even when we locked her in the box. No expression but peace. She whispered something over and over again. Unity through submission. That's what the Accord was preaching. Peace if we obey. Survival if we surrendered. We ran neural scans. Her brain was laced with tech, nanites, council grade. Silent invaders riding through bloodstream and nerves. Not quite mind control. Worse. Mind reprogramming. The Council wasn't just fighting a war. They were trying to rewrite us. We launched Operation Iron Veil. Total lockdown of urban centers. Communications blacked out. Any tech connected to the net was purged. Fires lit in cities as entire networks were destroyed. Internet gone. Satellites burned. We took ourselves back to the Stone Age to make sure nothing could be hijacked again. The people weren't happy. Hell, half the world thought we'd gone mad. But we weren't going to give the Council another inch. "Better disconnected than dismantled," Darnell said on the emergency channel. Still, not everyone agreed. That's when the bombs started. Inside our own bunkers. Our own people, turned by the Accord, began detonating themselves in secure zones. 3 commanders lost, 10 bunkers reduced to dust. We were being hollowed from the inside, eating our own guts. And in the middle of all this, the Council sent another message. Not through tech, not through space. They used a voice, a man, a human. He called himself Revik. Tall, well-dressed, eyes black as oil. Said he was earthborn. Said he'd awakened to the truth of the stars. He broadcast from a hijacked news channel in South America using a hidden uplink. Said Earth's resistance was childish. That our defiance had provoked suffering. That the Council was offering peace if we exterminated the military caste and submitted to biosocial integration. He didn't shout, he didn't threaten, he offered. And that was worse, because people listened. Some actually wanted what he was selling. An end to war, a place among the stars, food, water, peace. They didn't realize it was a cage dressed in flowers. We tried to track the feed, but it bounced through so many relays it was impossible. He'd planned it too well. 3 days later, command was hit. Not from space, from a mole. Someone on the inside, high up, fed coordinates to a Council skimmer, which breached our aerial defense and dropped a neutron payload on West Nevada. President Darnell was there, gone, just like that. I watched from the evac drone as the mountain cracked and collapsed. I don't remember screaming. Just silence. Hands clenched, rage in my chest like fire. Everything we'd bled for, everything we'd built, burning again. I remember Harlan, bruised, burnt, face ash-covered, grabbing my arm as we pulled him out of the rubble. "Knox," he choked. "They'll keep coming." Not in ships, in ideas, in offers, in kindness. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about firepower anymore. This was about will. The Council knew humanity couldn't be wiped out with weapons. But they believed they could make us stop being human. Slowly, patiently, like boiling frogs in a pot. And damn it, they were almost right. But there's something about pain. It purifies. It cuts the weak from the strong. And those of us still breathing weren't about to bow. I called an emergency summit. No politics, just war leaders, soldiers, the ones who'd bled. We met in the Arctic, in a bunker built into a frozen trench, invisible from orbit, immune to scans. That's when I laid out Project Harrow. Not defensive, not reactive, vengeance. See, during the war, we'd captured something, a piece of their tech, a psychic core. It let their ships communicate instantly. We reverse-engineered it, created a pulse that could destroy any network connected to the Council's hive. A mental nuke. And we were going to detonate it right in the heart of their empire. Operation Harrow isn't just a message, I told the room. It's a promise. We will never be rewritten. We will never kneel. If they want to test Earth's fury, then they're going to feel every second of it. Not everyone agreed. A few wanted to fall back, to build, to recover. But I saw it in their eyes. The old fire. The thing Earth was built on. Not hope, defiance. And so it began. We would not just survive. We would make them regret ever touching our sky. You don't volunteer for something like Harrow. You're chosen. I wasn't surprised when they tapped me. Not because I was the best. I wasn't. I was just the last man who still hated enough to see the mission through. There were only 6 of us in total. No names, just call signs, no ranks, no uniforms, just purpose. This wasn't about medals or memory. If we made it out, we weren't coming home heroes. We'd be ghosts, the kind that haunted Council archives for the next 1,000 years. The brief was simple. Get into the Delvian core, drop the psychic pulse, and get out. Or don't. Honestly, no one expected a return trip. Delvia wasn't their capital. It was worse. It was their mind. A planet wired with organic servers, thought-harvesting arrays, and something they called the consensus engine. A psychic relay that processed the thoughts of hundreds of species. That's where they planned their wars. That's where they edited rebellions before they started. It was the cerebral spine of the entire Council. And we were going to shove a knife straight into it. We left in a blackout ship. No signal, no emissions, no AI. Fully analog. The old ways. What the Council couldn't predict, they couldn't stop. It took 7 days real-time to reach Delvia's orbit. 7 days locked in a steel coffin, breathing recycled air, listening to nothing but the creak of hull plates, and your own mind chewing itself up. I learned to hate silence on that trip. Then we got eyes on Delvia. Imagine a planet not built to live on, but to think through. Covered in metal vines, giant crystal spires pulsing with violet light, cities that looked more like synapses, whole regions dedicated to dream extraction. The atmosphere shimmered with interference, like the air itself was whispering. We had to run hard analog filters just to keep our vision straight. Even orbiting it made you feel wrong, like you were being watched by something that didn't have eyes. God, whispered Silas, our weapons man, this isn't a planet, it's a brain. He wasn't wrong. We cloaked the ship in thermogenic scatter, then dropped from orbit in kinetic pods. Free-fall descent. No engines, no trace. My suit lit up red from the heat as we pierced atmosphere. We landed just outside the relay spine, the core tower of the consensus engine. Time was ticking. The psychic pulse was volatile. Once armed, we'd have 10 minutes max to detonate and escape before it fried our own nervous systems. It didn't distinguish between friend or foe. Just thought. And it destroyed everything thinking. We split into 3 units, 2 for distraction, 1 for detonation. I led the 3rd. The corridors of the relay spine weren't made for humans. Too tall, too smooth. Surfaces breathed. I swear they did. Like the whole damn structure was alive and curious. Eyes behind the walls. Thoughts not yours crawling down your spine. I had to bite my tongue to keep from screaming. We moved fast, cutting through security drones with EMP blades. Stealth was already off the table. We weren't here to sneak. We were here to cut. Then came the council operatives. Not machines. People, or what was left of them. Spliced bodies, transparent limbs, half-mechanical faces smiling without teeth. They didn't scream when they died. They just shut down, like puppets with their strings cut. One of them spoke before he dropped. "Why resist pain, human? You can be perfected." I put a round through his skull. "No thanks." We reached the core chamber. It was like staring into a god's eye. Floating above us was the engine, a spherical mass of light and sound, spinning at impossible speeds. Data flickered across the walls, millions of thoughts from across the galaxy flashing like memories, species being edited, minds being corrected. And we were about to hit delete on the whole thing. Silas pulled the device out of its case. The pulse core, about the size of a basketball, no buttons, just a DNA-encoded activation slot and a kill radius of 20 kilometers. Total cerebral destruction. He placed it on the floor, armed it, and gave me a look. "You sure we're ready?" "We're past ready." I pressed the sequence. The device hummed. Soft at first, then rising. That's when the shooting started. But not from the enemy, from behind us. Kale, the comms guy, turned his weapon on Silas, took him in the back of the neck, clean shot. Silas dropped like meat. "What the—" I dove for cover. Kale stood above the pulse, weapon aimed at me. "Stand down, Knox." "Are you out of your damn mind?" He didn't look angry. He looked calm. Too calm. "They offered me truth, Gabe. Not slavery. Clarity. I saw it. In the visions. What Earth could become if we stop fighting." "Let me guess. Unity through submission?" I snarled. Kale smiled. "They showed me a future without war, without hunger, without death." I raised my rifle. "And they took your spine to get it." I shot first. The bullet caught him in the shoulder, spun him into the console. He didn't scream. Just stared at me like I'd betrayed him. "You don't have to fight it anymore, Knox," he whispered, bleeding out. "You can be better." "No," I said. "I can be human." I turned back to the core. 1 minute to detonation. The engine was aware of us now. The lights changed. The hum deepened. Walls opened, revealing rows of drones. They didn't move. They just watched. Waiting. I grabbed Silas's ID tag. Blood still warm. Scanned it against the core. "Pulse armed," the system said. 10 seconds. I didn't run. I stared into the engine and said what needed to be said. "Tell your council. This is what happens when you touch Earth." Then I bolted. I didn't escape clean. The blast radius caught my leg. Everything went white. For a while, I thought I was dead. But then the pain came back. Real, familiar, good. I woke up in a field unit weeks later, leg gone, replaced by steel, half my face burned, voice raw from screaming. But I was alive. More than I can say for the Council. The pulse worked. Delvia is dead now, a dead brain, a severed nervous system. No more consensus, no more vision stealing, no more rewriting. The Council reeled. Entire fleets lost command coordination. Colonies revolted. Species long under their boot rose up. Earth had thrown the first stone, and the galaxy was catching fire. But peace? That's a long way off. Revok is still out there. The Accord, too. Humans who believe slavery is salvation. Traitors hiding in our shadows. And Earth? We're rebuilding. But we're not the same. We're awake now. The Council threatened us, so we replied with missiles. They rewrote minds, so we replied with fire. They came to correct us. And we taught them to fear imperfection. This isn't over. This is just the beginning. They started calling us something new. Not Earthlings, not humans, not even Terrans. They called us torchbearers. At first, it sounded noble, like we'd lit the way for others to rise up, to burn their chains, to see that even the smallest planet could defy a 1,000-year empire. But it wasn't about hope. It was about fear. Because fire doesn't just warm, it destroys. We didn't ask to be leaders. We didn't ask to become legends. But the galaxy made us that way the minute we refused to kneel. Now they look to us, broken species, exiled colonies, shattered moons, hoping Earth will save them too. But we're not saviors, we're survivors. And in this new galaxy, the one we helped break, survival means making choices we never wanted to face. We set up our first outpost off-world on Charon 3, a rocky trade planet near the remains of the Council's former communication rings. It wasn't pretty. Dust storms, acid rains, but it was strategically vital. Every surviving Council faction still out there, scavengers, loyalist splinters, traitor species, wanted Charon for themselves. We got there first. The place was crawling with refugees, species I'd never seen before, skin like stone, eyes like molten glass, all of them carrying the same look, hollow, half-dead, clinging to hope they didn't understand. They knelt when they saw our uniforms. Knelt to us, that was the first red flag. I was sent as a diplomatic commander, which was military speak for enforcer with a clean face. The brass wanted someone who'd been in Delvia, someone who still had blood on his hands and a reputation that made others shut up before they spoke. I'd lost count of how many people I'd killed. I wore that number like a badge now. I met the locals on Charon's outskirts, a mix of rebel cells and broken species who had abandoned the Council after the pulse hit. They wanted weapons, supplies, protection, but more than that, they wanted permission. They wanted to know if they were allowed to fight back. "Why ask me?" I said to their leader, a hunched creature named Kether with 2 mouths and 3 scars across his left eye. He hissed, low and dry. "Because when Earth strikes, the galaxy listens." That hit me harder than I expected. Earth wasn't just a planet anymore. We were becoming a symbol, a hammer others wanted to hide behind. And symbols? They're dangerous. Because once people start worshiping you, they stop holding you accountable. The outpost grew fast. Too fast. Within a month, we had 3,000 bodies on Charon. Soldiers, medics, smugglers, techs, and spies. Earth flags on makeshift towers, drills pumping water from the poisoned ground, drones mapping every corner of the sky for old Council tech. I started seeing Earth soldiers bark orders at locals like they were livestock. One private backhanded a merchant over a shipment delay. Another confiscated alien tools just because they looked suspicious. When I confronted command, they shrugged. "We brought order. They wanted us here." I didn't like the tone. Sounded too much like the Council. Then came the visit. A delegation from a species called the Krythan. Reptilian, slow-spoken, tech-savvy. They fought in the shadows during the old Council Wars. Never had a planet of their own. Wanderers, mostly, but dangerous. They wanted to ally. Not for ideology, not even for survival, but because they saw opportunity. Your people, their envoy told me, are feared. This is leverage. If you lead, others follow. If you claim systems, they bow. Together we could carve a new power out of the rubble. I should have shut it down right then. But I didn't. Because some part of me, the part that lost 15 million in the first strike, wanted the galaxy to fear Earth just a little longer. Maybe then they'd never threaten us again. 3 days later, we got intel. A rogue council remnant had taken over an orbital factory above the gas moon of Irelis. It was one of their old nanite forging stations, enough tech in there to restart a war. The order came fast. Seize it. Eliminate resistance. Secure everything. We deployed a strike team, 30 hardened soldiers, all Earthborn, all loyal. Or so I thought. The op was clean. Too clean. No traps, no resistance, just a single council AI, dormant, still humming inside the control core. Extract it, Command said. Could be valuable. But when I scanned the logs, I saw something that chilled me. The AI wasn't dormant. It had been transmitting, not outwards, inwards. Earth Command knew. They wanted the AI alive. I confronted Vega through secure line. You playing God now? It's just tech, he said. We adapt or die. Number, you're feeding the machine that tried to erase us. He didn't flinch. You want to survive, Nox? Then learn the rules have changed. We're not just defending Earth anymore. We're building an empire. That was the second red flag, and it bled into everything. Recruitment standards dropped. Earth soldiers began trading weapons for favors. Civilians disappeared in the night. Krythan advisors started wearing uniforms they hadn't earned. I saw a human officer beat a child for stealing rations. I saw a whole alien tribe relocated because they wouldn't swear loyalty to Earth's banner. And no one said a word. Because Earth was the torch-bearer. Because we were allowed. I tried to speak out, filed reports, challenged commanders, pulled soldiers aside. It didn't work. One night, I returned to my quarters and found the lights out. Door half open. I reached for my sidearm. Too late. 3 soldiers, Earthborn, eyes cold, no insignias. They didn't speak, just handed me a note. Stop, or next time we don't miss. I didn't report it. Because I already knew who'd sent them. Not Vega, not Command. The new Earth. The one rising in the ashes of the old one. The one that was learning how to be feared instead of fair. The one that believed respect comes from power, not principle. The next day, a caravan of refugees from a council-crushed colony arrived at the Karan gates. Women, children, wounded warriors. They carried nothing but tattered clothes and hollow eyes. Earth's new administration turned them away. We don't have the resources, they said. Let someone else carry the burden. So I opened the gates myself. Let them in. Took them under protection of my unit. Broke 3 direct orders doing it. Didn't care. Because this wasn't about strategy anymore. This was about soul. If Earth becomes the very thing we fought, the thing that burns planets and controls minds and turns away the weak, then what's the point of surviving? What's left to save? A few nights later, Revik returned. Not in person, in transmission. Somehow his Accord found a way to hijack the Karen feed. His face flickered onto every screen. Look what Earth becomes when unchallenged, he said. The tyrant always believes it's righteous. You burned Delvia. You shattered our minds. Now you build your own cages. I smashed the console. But the message was already spreading. And this time? People were starting to listen. Not just aliens, humans. Because deep down they saw it, too, that slow creep of power without conscience, that hunger, that same hunger we once fought. So now I stand at the edge of a line, between loyalty and conscience, between Earth's survival and Earth's soul. And I ask myself the question no soldier wants to ask. When your enemy becomes your teacher, how long before you become the same monster? The next war won't be fought in space. It'll be fought within our ranks, and I intend to be ready, even if it means pointing my gun at home. I always thought betrayal would come with a speech, some dramatic confrontation, a confession. A moment where someone said, "I'm sorry, but this is for the greater good." Turns out, betrayal doesn't come with words. It comes with orders. Orders that make no goddamn sense. Orders that make your stomach turn and your hands shake. We got one of those orders 2 weeks after the Karen Gate incident. The brass sent it down with a stamp of high priority and a voice comm from Vega himself. Effective immediately. Operation Severance. Cleanse sectors 3 through 9. All unauthorized alien settlements to be dismantled. Resistance to be met with force. It didn't say evacuate. It didn't say relocate. It said cleanse. You know who uses words like that? Monsters. The kind I've spent my life fighting. I tried to push back, walked straight into Command's outpost bunker with a copy of the order in hand and blood already rising behind my eyes. Vega wasn't there, but a man named Commander Strain was. Young, sharp, and cold. The type of officer you knew had never once fought with his own hands. Only behind screens and delegation chains. "You want to explain this garbage to me?" I snapped, slamming the datapad onto the table. He looked at it, barely blinking. "It's protocol. It's genocide." He looked me straight in the eye, no hesitation. "It's efficiency." I didn't hit him. Not because he didn't deserve it, but because hitting him would have made me feel better. And I didn't want to feel better. I wanted to feel clear. So I walked out. That was the moment I knew. Earth had lost its way, and if I didn't act soon, we'd burn everything we claimed to protect. I assembled a team that night, not official, not even rogue yet, just soldiers who still had a soul under the armor. Men who'd bled in the first wave, men who'd carried kids out of rubble, buried brothers in burned soil, and still woke up ready to protect, not dominate. We called ourselves HFY. Because that's what we were. The last fragments of the old Earth, the one that rose from fire, not fed on it. We had a plan. Intercept the severance units before they could reach Sector 3, evacuate the refugees, expose the order, force EarthGov's hand to go public, make it impossible for them to deny what they were doing. Simple on paper, messy in reality. The first convoy we hit was just 2 clicks from a refugee cluster. I recognized the commander leading it, Colonel Reese, a man I once fought alongside during the orbital siege of the Spire moons. He'd saved my life once, pulled me out of a ship before it collapsed. Now he was rolling tanks toward unarmed families. We ambushed them hard. EMP blasts knocked out their crawlers. Smoke grenades. No lethal shots. Not yet. I radioed in direct. "This is Major Knox. Stand down. You're executing civilians." There was silence, then static, then Reese's voice. "You've gone soft, Gabe." He said my name like it was a curse. Then he ordered return fire. I hesitated. Just a second. Long enough to get one of my men, Red, shot in the chest. He didn't scream. He just looked at me, confused, blood soaking through his armor like red ink. I gave the kill order. After that, it was war. We neutralized the convoy. No survivors on their end. 3 dead on mine. Red, Carver, and Finch, the youngest. All for stopping what was supposed to be our own side. That night, I sat under the stars, helmet off, blood dried on my face, and stared at the night sky. The galaxies looked so peaceful from Karen, like nothing was wrong. That's the lie of space. It's quiet. It doesn't care what burns. Word spread fast. Within 3 days, Ashfall became public enemy #1 on every Earth frequency. They called us traitors, insurgents, council sympathizers. The same people who once cheered us during the missile salvos now whispered our names like poison. But you know what really cracked my heart? A message came through from Earth itself. A personal transmission. From my brother. "Gabe," his voice cracked, static-filled. "What are you doing? They're saying you've turned on your own." I didn't reply. Because what could I say? That I hadn't turned? That they had? That Earth wasn't Earth anymore? No words could fix that. We hit 2 more convoys, then a supply chain, then a data relay station that fed propaganda directly into refugee sectors. We broadcast the real orders, the mass executions, the sterilization clinics they'd set up in secret, the labor camps they were calling integration centers. People started listening. Some even started resisting. A few Earth soldiers deserted and joined us. But with every step, we burned more bridges. We were fighting a war on 2 fronts, against the Council remnants and our own damn flag. And then came the worst betrayal. Silas. I thought he was dead. He was. I saw him bleed out during the Delvia strike. But he hadn't stayed dead. He'd been taken, reconstructed, not by the Council, by EarthGov. His file had been scrubbed, his name erased. They rebuilt him from Spinal Tech up, loyal, obedient, enhanced. They called him Wraith now, and they sent him after us. We didn't know until he hit our base. One moment we were eating, planning the next move. The next, a hole opened in the side of the bunker, and Wraith walked through like a shadow. I recognized him the second he pulled off his mask. "Silas?" He didn't even blink. "You should have died with honor," he said, voice colder than cryo steel. "Now you'll be erased." He took 2 of my men in seconds. I barely escaped with my life. We regrouped in the canyon shadows. Ashfall was broken, half our cells offline, command silenced, satellites blind. Earth had turned its brightest into weapons, and I had a decision to make. Keep running, or finish this. So here's what I'm doing now. I'm going home, back to Earth, back to the command chambers buried under the Rockies. I still have clearance codes. Old ones, outdated, but I know the back doors, the forgotten tunnels, the way in. I'm going to confront Vega. I'm going to end this, not with a broadcast, not with a speech, with a bullet. Because there's no redemption left in the system, no fixing Earth from the outside. Sometimes you have to bleed it clean from within. Ashfall will hold the line on Karen while I go. They know this may be a suicide run, but I'm not afraid to die. I've already died once, the day Earth stopped being worth bleeding for. Now I'm fighting for the Earth we were, not the empire we've become. And if I go down, I'll go down facing forward. The shuttle dropped into low orbit around Earth, like a thief returning to a house he once called home. No lights, no escort, just a grav-dead hull and an old ghost on board. That ghost was me. I'd memorized the approach vectors a lifetime ago, before the Council's first missiles rained down. Earth had changed since then. Darker skies, more satellites, thicker debris fields. From orbit, the surface looked bruised. Still spinning, still breathing, but not the same. I wasn't coming back for a reunion. I was coming to kill what had taken Earth's soul. I landed outside the Rockies, 40 clicks from Iron Dome Command. The original bunker, old world, pre-Council tech, deep underground, where Vega ran operations now, where the new Earth made its darkest decisions. I'd been there before, as a soldier, as a hero. This time I came as a traitor, or maybe I finally stopped being one. The terrain was familiar. Cold wind, sharp rocks, dead trees. Nature didn't care about sides. It kept moving while men killed each other for flags and power. I moved fast, under cover of darkness. Low tech, manual gear, no signals, no drones. I was a ghost in a graveyard. and I was home. The entrance tunnel was hidden inside a collapsed rail station, long since buried in rockslide. But I knew the old code. 4 pulses on the outer panel, 1 pause, then 3 quick taps. Emergency override sequence, left over from the original EarthGov protocols. The door opened. Cold air, smell of rust and oil. I slipped inside. The bunker was quieter than I expected. No alarms, no guards in the outer ring, just sterile lights and automated turrets scanning blindly. Comms were running, but silent. Probably encrypted chatter above my clearance now. I kept my head down, moved through maintenance shafts, emergency ladders, crawl spaces too narrow for drones. Every corridor was a memory. Here was where I got my first kill order during the Council siege. There was where Red lit a cigar after we bombed the blockade. Now it was empty. Like everyone I knew had already died here. They just hadn't laid down yet. I reached sub-level 9, the war room, still intact. The door was sealed, of course, reinforced titanium with retina lock and DNA check. Problem was, I still had clearance. My DNA hadn't been wiped yet. My eye scan was still registered. They never expected me to come back. The door hissed open, and there he was. Vega, older, thinner, face gaunt, eyes like coals behind glass. He didn't flinch when I walked in. Didn't reach for a weapon. He just looked at me and sighed. I was wondering when you'd grow the balls to come home. I didn't waste time. You ordered the purges. Yes. You used council tech on our own people. Yes. You killed Darnell. He smirked. That one wasn't me, but I didn't stop it either. I drew my weapon. He didn't blink. You going to shoot me now, Knox? Number not yet. First, I want to know. Why? That's when he stood. Calm, hands behind his back, and gave me the truth I wasn't ready for. You remember the first pulse, right? Vega said, circling the table like we were playing some kind of war game. The strike on Delvia? I said. He nodded. What you don't know is what came after. The collapse didn't just wipe out Council Command, it fractured their species links. Entire civilizations lost the ability to think coherently. Whole planets descended into chaos, starvation, suicide. Some begged Earth for help. I frowned. We didn't help them. No, he said flatly. We took their systems, their resources, their tech. My stomach turned. We built our empire on the ashes of the very oppression we claimed to destroy. Because we had to, he said. Because if we didn't, someone else would have. The Krythan, the Ashari, the traitor species waiting to carve us up. You sound like them. I sound like a realist, Knox. He leaned forward. You want Earth to be noble, clean, merciful, but Earth never survived by being good. We survived by being brutal when we had to. You think I enjoy the purges, the mind scans, the sterilization protocols? I raised my weapon again. Don't give me that martyr speech. You enjoy power. That's the difference. He laughed. Power is the only thing that listens. I could have pulled the trigger right then. One round through his skull. I wanted to. I needed to. But then the door opened behind me, and my blood ran cold. Wraith, Silas, still wearing the same face, the same eyes. But something inside him was broken now, hollowed out and filled with loyalty to a government I no longer recognized. He raised his weapon slowly. Major Gabriel Knox, you are under arrest for high treason, conspiracy, and sedition. I stared him down. You still in there, Silas? He didn't answer, but I saw it. The twitch in his jaw, the flicker behind his eyes. The man I knew hadn't been erased, just buried. Vega stepped between us. Stand down, Wraith, let him go. Silas hesitated, confused. Sir, you heard me. Silas lowered the weapon slowly, then Vega turned back to me. I want you to leave, Knox. You've made your point. You're letting me go? Number I'm sending you. He tossed a data chip onto the table. Coordinates, a deep space location outside Council space. Redacted. What is this? The last Council stronghold, he said. They've regrouped, preparing retaliation. We need them gone. We can't spare a fleet. But you? He smiled darkly. You're the legend, the ghost, the man who burned Delvia. Go finish it. And if I don't? Then I send someone else, and they won't be as gentle as you. I took the chip, because he was right about one thing. The war wasn't over, and I couldn't fix Earth from a bunker, but I could remind the galaxy what Earth used to stand for. Not empires, not domination. Defiance. I'm leaving Earth again. This time, maybe for the last time. Silas is coming with me. He doesn't remember yet, but he will. I'll find the man I lost in Delvia, even if I have to drag him out of the machine with my bare hands. Vega will stay in his tower, for now. But one day I'll come back. And then there will be no words, just fire. Because sometimes, to fix what's broken, you have to burn it to the ground first. The ship was small, bare bones, cloaked, old tech, pre-council. She didn't have a name, just a call code, Echo 7. It was fitting. That's what we were now. Echoes. Remnants of what Earth used to be, of what we thought we were fighting for before the lines blurred and the maps changed, before the bastards in command traded conviction for control. The coordinates Vega gave us pointed far outside Council space, past the Omerian Drift, past the Watcher nebulas, out where stars flicker like dying embers and gravity itself bends wrong. A dead zone, they called it. But the data was clear. The last stronghold of the true Council, a place called Nexum. Latin, maybe, or a joke. It meant binding. Whatever it meant, it was where they had gone to regroup. The minds we hadn't broken, the AI we hadn't destroyed, the ones who wanted to rebuild the old order, silently, slowly, perfectly. I wasn't going to let them. Silas sat across from me in the cabin. He hadn't said much since Vega let us walk out of Iron Dome. He still wore the armor, still moved like a ghost. But sometimes, I caught him staring at his own hands like they didn't belong to him. He wasn't whole. Not yet. But neither was I. We were both stitched together by war and guilt, waiting for one final cut. You remember what happened on Delvia? I asked him after 3 days in deep space silence. His eyes twitched. I remember, he hesitated. Pain, light, then silence. I nodded. You saved us there. You died a hero. He looked away. I'm not him anymore. Maybe not, but if there's a sliver of him in you, I need it now. He didn't answer, but he didn't walk away either. That was enough for me. When we hit Nexum's orbit, we almost missed it. The planet wasn't on any star chart. No signal, no orbiting debris, just a black sphere floating in the dark like a blind god. We descended slowly, the ship whining under pressure. The atmosphere fought us. The planet didn't want us here. Good. We didn't come to ask permission. We came to end this. The surface was unlike anything I'd seen. No cities, no structures, just a single crater, massive, deep, pulsing with blue light. At the bottom, a tower rose like a bone through skin. Cold, steel, alive, the Council mind core. If Delvia was their brain, Nexum was their heart. This is where they hide now, I muttered. Silas just nodded. We went in. No resistance at first, just hallways that breathed, lights that flickered as we walked. The core wasn't abandoned. It was watching. Then came the first wave. Synthetic guardians, silent, perfect, no mouths, no eyes, just blades and speed. We fought like we used to, back to back. My rifle, his blades. For the first time since Delvia, we moved like soldiers again, until they said his name. Not Silas, Wraith. The machines backed off. A voice spoke from the walls. Not male, not female, just presence. Unit Wraith, return to protocol. Your mission is not complete. Silas froze. Don't listen, I growled. You're not theirs. You are ours, the voice said. Created, purposed, finished. He raised his weapon. Not at me, at his own head. I grabbed his arm. Don't. This isn't how your story ends. Silas trembled. Then he whispered, Then finish it with me. We reached the heart of the core, a chamber bigger than anything I had seen, glowing with neural strands and data streams. Suspended in the center, the last mind, a fusion of council intellects, pulsing with raw cognition. It spoke, but not in words, in thoughts, memories. It invaded my head like smoke under a door. I saw Earth, bombs falling, Vega giving orders, children crying under rubble. I saw myself pulling the trigger in cold blood, again and again. You are not different from us, it said in my mind. You seek control. You use fear. You manipulate the weak. I clenched my jaw. No, I said out loud. You erased identities. You sterilized thought. You called obedience peace. And Earth will do the same, it hissed. You are just younger, cruder, but you will evolve into us. That was the final straw. I pulled the detonator. Maybe, but not today. I tossed it to Silas. He caught it, didn't flinch. Then he smiled, just a flicker, just enough to let me know he was still in there. Then he ran straight into the heart of the core. I screamed his name. Silas! But he didn't look back. He reached the mind and triggered the charge. The explosion wasn't fire, it was silence, a psychic scream, and then total void. The core collapsed in on itself. The tower shook. I barely made it out alive. Half my skin burned. My eyes blinded by flash. My lungs collapsing in the poisoned air. But I was alive. And Nexum was gone. Earth never sent recovery. Vega never contacted me. Ashfall was silent. I drifted in the wreckage of the atmosphere until a rebel freighter, not Earth, not Council, picked up my beacon. They didn't know who I was. Didn't care. And for once, I was grateful. They patched me up, took me to a fringe moon, off the map, off the grid. That's where I write this now. Not as a general, not as a ghost, but as a man. A man who saw Earth rise, saw it fall, saw it become what it hated, and still chose to fight. I don't know what Earth is anymore. Maybe it's healing. Maybe it's rotting. But I know this. There is no peace without cost, no freedom without fire, and sometimes the only way to save something is to burn the lie and carry the truth through the ashes. So if you're reading this, if you're one of the next generation, the next soldier, the next rebel, don't worship what came before. Challenge it. Make it better. Because Earth didn't earn her place in the stars with kindness. She fought for it. Now it's your turn to decide if it was worth it, and whether the galaxy should still fear us or follow us.